Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this stepped storage unit. Now I've made this for my doll's house craft room, and I've made it in particular to fit under that sloping wall on the right hand side of the attic. And I'm going to start now by showing you how I actually come up with the size for it, just in case you wanted yours to be a slightly different size. But I think this would work really well in any other room of the house, and it doesn't necessarily need to be stood under a sloping wall. Now, as usual, the cutting list is in the description box below, so let's get started. So to help me create the cutting list for this piece, I've done a template of that area of the room, so to the right hand side of the door, and then I've drawn in the actual unit, so this will be the actual size. Now if you're making yours also to fit in an area like this, I advise that you do the same. Now hopefully you'll be able to use the same measurements as me, but if not, let me tell you how big the finished unit will be, and then you can just double check that it will fit. So with the base on, and I always have a little bit of an overlap on the base, it's going to be 80mm wide, and that's 3 3/16 of an inch. And then it's going to be a total height of 80 again, so 3 3/16 of an inch. And then in the middle there it's 52, so 2 1/8 of an inch, and that one is 28mm, so 1 1/8. So just check that all of those measurements will fit into your area, like I say, if you're doing it for a place like this. But you know, you don't have to have it in an angled wall, you can have that anywhere in the room. That would still look quite nice. Okay, so because this piece includes a lot of similar sized pieces for the base, the central section and the top part, I advise just cutting the pieces needed for the base. We'll construct that and then we'll cut and construct, cut and construct, and that way we're not just going to be bombarded with pieces of all similar sizes. Okay, so we're going to begin by making pencil marks on the back, top and bottom pieces for placement of the divides. So put those pieces to one side, and then we're going to join these pieces just so we don't have to make the pencil marks 3 times. So just line them up along the sides and use a little bit of masking tape to stick them together. Bottom piece there as well. A bit of tape there. And then we're going to do a pencil mark 23mm from each edge of the piece, and in inches that is 15/16 of an inch. So 23mm, 15/16 of an inch, and that's not an exact division by 3, but it's not going to be noticeable. The amount it's out is less than 1/2 millimetre, so it's not going to look obvious. One there, and then turn that piece and join those up. Place the rule just below the pencil marks to allow for the thickness of your pencil nib, and you can continue that line onto the front edge of the top and bottom piece, and that'll just help us get those divides lined up like that, and then you can remove the tape. Okay, so we're now going to attach a side piece to the outer edge of the back piece. And just a couple of things, the side pieces are the larger pieces, so those other little squares are our divides, which will go in the middle there. So keep those to one side for now. And then because these pieces are actually square, you want to make sure that your grain runs from the top to bottom for all of those pieces once we put them into place, so the sides and the divides. And that's just so that we've got that neater edge along the front or along the visible edge. Okay, so begin by applying glue along the short edge of the back piece. Put that back down and attach the side, making sure you've got a nice flush edge along the top and bottom. You can then press that into place. Carefully remove any excess glue. We're then going to attach the top piece, and this is going to sit on the inside edge of those joined pieces. So apply glue to a short and a long edge. long and a short edge, whichever you prefer. And you want to make sure this piece is sitting flush at the top of both of those pieces, and so that it's right into that corner as well. Let's get your pencil lines lined up too. I'm just going to turn that around and make sure I'm right along that top edge there. And to help with that, you can bring in a piece of spare strip wood and then press your pieces up against it, and that will make sure that you've got that nice flush line along the top there. Move that out of the way, and then bring in that side piece to meet it, and that will square the piece off. So you've got a nice flush edge there as well. Carefully press the pieces together. Turn that round again and then get rid of any excess glue. Be really careful not to knock anything out of place. We're now going to attach the first of those divides, remembering what I said about having the grain so that it's running from top to bottom. And each of the divides is going to sit on the inside edge of that pencil line. So again, apply glue to a long and a short edge. Now I said earlier that these were square as well. These aren't, but you still want to make sure that the edge of the wood that runs in the direction of the grain is at the front there. And that's the shortest edge in this case. So that's what I meant. I knew what I meant. Okay, so you want to sit that to the right hand side of that first pencil line, and so that you can just see that pencil line, use that little mark we made on the front edge as well to get that lined up, and then press that into place so it's going right up into that top corner. Like that. A little bit of cutting mat sticking in there. Make sure that's sitting straight along that line on the back. And again, get rid of your excess glue. And then the same with that piece, and this will sit to the left of that. I only took the side piece then, so make sure you're using your smaller piece, and that'll sit to the left of that line. Come around that side. Again, make sure you're getting it all lined up. Use your little top mark as well. Like that. Give it a good press. We're then going to attach the bottom piece, and that will sit so that the lines are on the inside edge again. You've got your little marks so that they're at the front, so we can line up our divides. So just begin by putting a bit of glue onto the bottom of those divides, and then a long and a short edge again of your bottom piece. Make sure you're pushing it right into that corner. Now I've got a little bit of an overhang there, but that's okay because I can sand that off once the piece has dried. Press it up against those divides. Make sure you've got that flat bottom edge or flush bottom edge. Now, and look inside as well, make sure that you're on the right sides of those pencil lines. And then while you're holding on to it, you can again get in there and remove your excess glue. And we're then going to apply glue to this open end and attach the final side piece. So lay that back down, and remember again about having the grain so that it runs from top to bottom. And then press that piece into place. Make sure you've got a flush edge along the top, bottom and back. I need to go up there. Give it a press. Again, I've got a little bit of an overhang where I've cut the bottom piece a little bit too deep, but but I can just sand the whole thing face down once the glue has dried, so don't worry about that if you're finding the same. I'm going to stand it up like that and put a piece of masking tape right over that side. Pull it nice and tightly. Like that. And that piece can be left to dry. So once the glue has completely dried on the base piece, sand it face down on your sandpaper, and that will ensure that you've got a nice flush front edge, and I gave that a sand on all sides as well. Now, as with our first piece, we're going to begin by making a pencil mark down the centre of our top and back piece for placement of the divide. And again, that will be 23mm or 15/16 of an inch from your left-hand edge. So do a little pencil mark at the top and bottom of each piece. That's my back piece there, which is the higher of the two pieces. So join that, and then on this top piece I want to continue the pencil line onto the front edge. So 23mm, 15/16 of an inch. Turn and join the marks up, and then just continue that onto the edge of the piece like that. Now you'll notice here that we haven't got a bottom piece, and that's because if we put a bottom piece on here as well, we're going to sort of have a double piece of wood there, which won't look as nice. So we're going to create this in just the same way, but without that bottom piece along there, and then we'll stick it straight to our base piece so that it doesn't lose its shape. So we're going to begin by attaching a side piece to the outer edge of the back piece, and again with your sides just make sure the grain is running from top to bottom. So apply glue along the edge of the back piece. Attach the side. Make sure you've got nice flush edges along the top and bottom. I need to just go up with that a little bit. And if you find that pieces aren't sticking as well, you can bring in your spare piece of strip and just press those together. That way you get more pressure on it, and even pressure as well all the way along. So give those a press. Carefully remove your excess glue. We're then going to attach the top piece on the inside edge again of those joined pieces, and with the pencil line on the inside. So make sure that's sitting right at the top of the back piece there and pushed into that corner. And you can use your strip to help with that as well, so press the strip against the back of the pieces and then bring that side piece in, push them together, and again that will square it off. I'll turn that around to show you there. So I can see a bit of gap in there, so I need to push that further into the corner and then push that side back in. Again making sure you've got nice flush edges. Like that. Again just remove any excess glue from in there. And then we can attach the divide, and this is going to sit to the right of that pencil line. Oops, that's my glue one. So apply glue to the top and the back, and again this is square, so make sure that your edge that runs with the grain is facing towards the front. I'll just turn that way for a moment and get that into place. So I'm just hiding that pencil line. Use your little pencil mark on the top there to get that lined up. Press that down as well. And then before that glue is dry, I just want to make sure that my divides are in exactly the same place. Otherwise that will ruin the look of the piece. So just place it carefully on top of your first piece, and those divides should run down in a nice straight line. And we've done the measurement the same, but sometimes you can just place something slightly off one way or the other, so just do double check. I'm then going to attach that remaining side, so apply glue along those final edges. And press that side into place, again checking that you've got the grain in the right direction. Nice flush bottom edge as well. Press that into place. You can now sort of place it on the top like that and give it all a good press together. Press like that, just get in and get rid of that bit of glue. And then apply glue to these bottom edges. Get your base ready. I'm just brushing off any dust that might be on there. And then get that into place, line up that side, make sure you've got that nice flush edge down there. Bringing that side out a little bit as well, and make sure that divide is directly above the one below, running in a nice straight line. I'm just running my finger on the back as well, make sure we've got a flush edge there. I think I can come forward a tiny bit. Like that. Be sure to sort of hold on to it all as you're moving it around. Make sure everything's staying where it should. I just need to pop that corner up. We need a nice flat edge here to attach our next little box to. And I'm pushing that side in, so I'll pull that out as well. I'm just going to press and hold that for 30 seconds, and then I'm going to grab some masking tape and we'll secure those pieces together. So lay the piece onto its back like that, and what I want to do first is put a piece right over the centre to secure those divides into place. And before you sort of glue the tape down, just make sure that that divide is staying where it should. Get those really lined up. As I say, it will really ruin the effect if they're not in line. And you might have just heard that little pop. I just pushed the top piece out of place as I did that. So I'll pop that back into place, get those glued down, and then we can sort this top piece out, which is trying to sort of drop down a bit. Let me lift that up because I'm pulling it too tightly there. Get that top piece back into place so you've got a nice flush edge along the top there. Hold on to that and then you can pull your tape nice and tight. So I now want to put a piece across there so that I'm holding that piece into place as well. And that's why masking tape is really useful, because you can put things where they need to go and then just quickly tape them up. Sometimes works better than clamps. So again, I'm putting that piece around the side first and then making sure that that's staying where it should, and then tape it into place. And that should be enough on there. Just making sure that's not coming forward too much. Still got time at this stage to move things around. And then what we'll do once that's dried is we'll give that another sand over the front, just to make sure that all of these pieces are nice and flush. So that can now be left to dry, and you can now cut the pieces for the top piece. So again, once that piece has completely dried, give it a good sand on all sides, and especially on the front, so hold it down flat against your sandpaper and just go round in small circular motions, and that way you'll have that lovely flush front edge. And we're now going to construct the final little box. And you'll see in the cutting list that I've advised cutting the back piece so that the grain is along the shorter edge, and that's just so we can follow suit with the back of all the other pieces and so that the grain runs from left to right. So position your pieces as such so that the top and back piece, the grain runs left to right, and then your sides again, you want the grain top to bottom, just so we keep it all uniform. So pop that out of the way, apply glue to the side of the back piece, pop that back down and attach the side, just double checking that you've got the grain top to bottom again. And I'm just going to grab that piece of strip. I keep putting it away. Press those pieces together. Good firm press. Again, get rid of the excess glue. We can then attach the top, which will sit on the inside edge of those join pieces, grain running from left to right. So make sure that's sitting right at the top of the back piece. So you've got that nice flush edge. Let's just turn that around so we can get a better look. And again, you can use your strip wood to help you, and then push it right into that corner, which will square the piece off. A little bit more fiddly this time because we're working with such a small piece. And then give it a good press. Have to bring that top bit up. And then we can attach the final side. So apply glue to those edges. And again, we're going to stick this straight into place and secure it there. And this is another of those pieces that you could make larger if you wanted to. So you could have 4 or even 5 sort of sections on the bottom and then work your way up. So I'm just going to lay that piece back down and then attach my side, again making sure the grain is top to bottom. Again, give that a press into place. Just be gentle with it because obviously there isn't a bottom piece, so the sides are a little bit fragile. Like that. I'll just remove that bit of excess glue from in there. And then we can apply glue to the bottom edges. Bring in the unit and glue that into place, making sure you've got that nice flush side and back, and that your side piece is running straight. It will be the same width this time, but it might just try and flare outwards again because it's not attached to a bottom piece. Really like how that's looking. I think a taller one would look good. I obviously didn't have the space for it there, but I think I might try another one of these. Get rid of that bit of glue. Check round the back, make sure everything's sitting nice and flush. And we'll give it a good sand again at the end. But it's good to get it as sort of square as you can at this stage. Get rid of the excess glue, and then I'm going to put a bit of tape right over the top. Let's go like that. You can stick it along down that side and then onto your stepped shelves. Like that. And again, that piece can be left to dry. So once you've allowed enough time for the glue to dry, you can sand that piece again on all sides so that you've got a nice flush piece. And we're now going to prepare the unit base before we attach it. And with this piece we're going to bevel one long edge and both short edges. So pop that out of the way, and with your sandpaper flat on your work surface, hold the piece at a 45-degree angle and sweep it towards you, keeping it at that angle. And keep going until you've got a nice sharp bevel. Like that, and then do the same thing at each end. Finish that piece off in your hand using a piece of finer grade sandpaper, and I'm using a 500 here. So apply glue to the bottom of the unit. Glue's going a little bit tacky. Make sure you get it right along the edges. Like that. You can then sit that piece down onto the base so that you've got a nice flush edge along the back and an even overhang at each side, and that's usually the thickness of your bevel. Got to press down, just check at the sides, make sure you've got the same amount overhanging, And then what I want to do, I'll just get rid of that excess glue actually. And then what I'm going to do is put a piece of tape over and some clamps as well, just to really hold that into place. So lay that piece down and just bring a piece around the bottom like that. Don't press down too hard on your sort of top edges. Don't want to risk cracking the wood, but do try and pull it nice and tightly along the sides. Have a look from the back, and if you think that you've got any gap in, then you can put a piece straight over the back as well. I'm just going to put a piece at this end. And then I'm going to put clamps along this front edge, just to really hold it all together, and so that we don't get any lifting. I'm not sure if I can fit 2 in each opening. Let's have a look. Yep. I'll put another one there, and I should just be able to get one in the middle. Let's use one of these big ones. Really nice and tight, those ones. I don't know if I can get it in yet. Like that. And that piece can then be left to dry. So we're now ready to prepare the finishing pieces. And you'll notice that we've got 2 different sizes. So the top one we want to bevel along the front edge and both sides, so that we've got that little overhanging edge at each side. And then these ones, because they obviously sit up against the side of the higher shelf, we just want to bevel the front and side edges. And that just finishes it off nicely, so we haven't got any of those raw edges of wood showing. So start with your largest one, and we're going to bevel it the same as we did the bottom piece, along the long front edge and then both sides. Once again, you can finish that piece off with a piece of finer grade paper. Pop that piece to one side, and then take one of your smaller pieces, and we're going to bevel the edge that goes in the direction of the grain, and then one of the sides. So when you've done along that front edge, just check which way around it goes and which other edge you then need to do. So we're now ready to attach the finishing pieces, and we'll start with that top piece. So apply glue to the top, and I've got here my masking tape and my clamps. And this one will go on, so you've got that nice flush edge along that back edge again, and an even overhang at each side. So get that into place. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tape over the top there. Press that down onto those sides. I'm just going to lift up that masking tape on that side, because obviously we need to stick the next finishing piece along that edge. So I don't want to trap the tape in there. So then apply glue to the next one down. And again, you want the flush edge along the back and an even overhang along the front and side. And push it up against that side piece there. Get rid of your excess glue. And then I'm going to put the tape so it sort of goes from the front edge there like that. You can overhang it a little bit and straight down the back, and then just tuck that in. And then we can clip the clamps around it, and we'll do the same down here. Again, get that nice flush edge along the back, push it up against the side, and that really does finish it off nicely, doesn't it? I'll do the same with this one. Keep forgetting to check for the excess glue. Too much tape there, I think. So tuck that in underneath and then around the back as well. And then I'm going to try and get a couple of clamps in each opening, so let's have a look. Yeah, I'll be able to get 2 in each. So add your clamps as well. Then we won't get any lifting along that front edge. 2 more. And then lay that on its back, and that can be left to dry. Once you've allowed enough time for the glue to dry, remove the tape and give that piece a gentle sand all over, and it's then ready for paint. And I'm going to be using my North Pole emulsion paint. Okay, so that's now had 2 light coats of paint, and I sanded gently after each coat had dried. And there is the completed unit. I'm really pleased with how that's turned out, and I can't wait to start filling that with loads of little bits and pieces, lots of crafty accessories. And what I'll do is, once I've built the other pieces of furniture for the craft room, I'll do a couple of videos where we just concentrate on making all of the accessories and miniatures to go in that room, and I'm really looking forward to that. But I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope this is something that you can use in your own doll's house, whether, as I said earlier, it's actually in your craft room or in another room of the house. If you do have a go at making it, I'd love to see your photos, and you can share them in my Facebook group, Little Bits and Pieces by You. And I'm sure you're already a member by now, but if not, just pop over to my Facebook page and you can request to join from there. So just one more thing to do now, and that's to try this in the craft room. That's going to go just there. I think that looks really good. And this is a really good solution if you have maybe an odd shaped doll's house. It would even work well under the stairs, and I think that would look really good if you've got your stairs sort of in your living room or in a room of the house. And as I said earlier, I'm really looking forward to making some accessories to go in there. And I'll be having a bookcase or taller unit here, and then sort of like a sideboard type thing here running along to where the doll's house sits. So once we've done those, and obviously we need a chair for the desk as well, then we can start concentrating on all of the accessories and miniatures, and that's going to be the fun part. But that's it for today. I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. So take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!